There are moments in life when it feels as if the world has left us behind. Friends become distant, loved ones seem preoccupied, and we find ourselves in the quiet spaces alone. It is in these moments that a sense of loneliness can settle into our hearts, leading us to question why we have been left to walk this path alone. But perhaps this solitude is not a curse. Perhaps it is a gift, a divine invitation to draw nearer to the one who never leaves us. God, in His infinite wisdom, sometimes removes the distractions of this world, the noise of companionship, the bustle of relationships, so that we may hear His voice more clearly. When we are surrounded by others, it is easy to depend on their presence for comfort, validation, or direction. Yet in that dependence, we can lose sight of the deeper source of our strength. God desires that we rely on Him fully, that we know Him intimately, not just in the collective experience of faith, but in the solitude of our hearts. When you find yourself alone, know that it is not a punishment. It is not a sign that you are unloved or forgotten. Rather, it is a season in which God calls you to Himself. There is a refining process in solitude. Like gold in the fire, we are shaped and purified when we are separated from the distractions of the world. It is in these quiet moments that our hearts are molded, our thoughts are clarified, and our spirits strengthened. God may also lead you into loneliness to protect you. There are relationships and connections that may not align with the path He has set for you. Sometimes being alone is His way of shielding you from influences that could pull you away from your purpose. Though it may be hard to understand in the moment, trust that His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts higher than our thoughts. He sees the dangers ahead, the pitfalls we cannot see, and in His love, He sometimes pulls us away for our own good. In this season, God invites you to discover who you are in Him. When the voices of the world are silenced, you begin to hear the truth about yourself, not the distorted reflections offered by others, but the truth spoken by your Creator. He sees your worth, your potential, your heart. He knows the depths of your soul and the greatness He has placed within you. But for you to see it too, you must first be willing to sit in the quiet and listen. In the silence, God reveals Himself. The noise of the world can often drown out His still, small voice. But when we are alone, we become attuned to His whispers. In those moments, He speaks words of love, guidance, and purpose. He reminds us that He is always near, even when others are far. He promises that He will never leave us nor forsake us, that His presence is constant and unwavering. Embrace the solitude, for it is in the stillness that God's presence becomes most palpable. You are not alone in the way you think. You are alone because God wants you to grow, to discover, to heal. He wants you to learn the depths of His love, to trust Him fully, and to become the person He created you to be. When we think of being alone, it is easy to assume it means abandonment, that somehow we have been forsaken by the world or even by God Himself. But loneliness is not the absence of love, it is often the space where love is most clearly revealed. In this sacred space of isolation, God speaks to us in ways that we might not hear in the company of others. He draws near to us in ways that we might not notice when our lives are full of noise. God doesn't just use silence to teach us, He uses it to transform us. Consider for a moment the times in Scripture when God led His people into the wilderness, into solitude. It was not a random occurrence, but a deliberate act. Moses was called into the desert before leading the Israelites out of Egypt. David spent time alone in the fields before he became king. Even Jesus withdrew to lonely places to pray. In each of these examples, there is a pattern. God uses solitude as preparation. He takes His chosen ones away from the world for a time, not to punish them, but to prepare them for something greater. When God wants you to be alone, it may be because He is preparing your heart for a deeper relationship with Him. In the quiet, in the stillness, you begin to realize that the relationships you once relied on for strength cannot compare to the strength you receive from God. The love you once sought from others is a mere shadow of the love that God has for you. In solitude, you learn that His love is not conditional. It is not based on what you do or how you perform. His love simply is, and it is enough. In this sacred space of loneliness, God also calls us to look inward. The world has a way of distracting us from our inner selves. We fill our days with activity, our minds with endless thoughts, and our hearts with fleeting desires. But when we are alone, there is nowhere to hide from ourselves. God uses this time to reveal the hidden parts of our hearts, the wounds we have ignored, the fears we have buried, the doubts we have covered with busyness. He brings them to the surface not to shame us, but to heal us. He desires wholeness for us, and that wholeness can only come when we are willing to confront the broken places within. Sometimes the loneliness you feel is not because God has left you, but because He is inviting you to leave behind the things that have held you captive. We can become so attached to the things of this world, our relationships, our careers, our ambitions, that we begin to build our identity on them. But God, in His wisdom, knows that these things cannot sustain us. He knows that if we continue to rely on them for our sense of worth, they will eventually fail us. And so He takes us into a season of solitude to strip away the false foundations we have built our lives upon. He removes the things that we have clung to so tightly, not to harm us, but to set us free. When you are alone, you are faced with the question, who are you really? Without the titles, without the relationships, without the external validation, who are you at your core? It is in this place that God speaks His truth over you. He reminds you that you are His child, created in His image, loved beyond measure. He tells you that your worth is not found in what you do, but in who you are, His beloved. In this quiet, He redefines your identity, not based on the world's standards, but on His eternal truth. This time of being alone is also a time of testing. Just as gold is tested in fire, our faith is tested in solitude. It is easy to believe in God's goodness when everything is going well, when we are surrounded by people who love us, when life is moving smoothly. But what happens when all of that is taken away? Will we still trust in His goodness? Will we still believe that He is with us, even when we cannot feel His presence? It is in these moments of testing that our faith is strengthened. God doesn't test us to watch us fail. He tests us to refine us, to purify our hearts, to deepen our trust in Him. Being alone with God is also a time of deep transformation. When we are alone, we are more receptive to the changes He wants to make in our lives. We are no longer distracted by the opinions of others, no longer influenced by the expectations of the world. In this quiet space, God works on us in ways that would be impossible in the midst of the noise. He reshapes our hearts, renews our minds, and redirects our paths. The transformation may not be easy. It may involve letting go of old habits, old ways of thinking, and old relationships, but it is necessary for us to become the people God has called us to be. God also uses this time of solitude to remind us of our purpose. When we are surrounded by others, it is easy to get caught up in their dreams, their plans, their expectations. We begin to live for the approval of people rather than the approval of God. But when we are alone, we are reminded of the unique purpose God has for each of us. He calls us to remember that we are not here by accident, that our lives have meaning, that there is a divine plan unfolding in our lives. In this quiet space, God reveals the next steps, the path we are to walk, the work we are to do. He prepares us for what is to come, and He gives us the strength to walk in His will. In your loneliness, God is also teaching you to be content in Him alone. We live in a world that tells us we need more relationships, more success, more possessions to be happy. But God is calling you to find your joy, your peace, your fulfillment in Him alone. He is teaching you that He is enough, that His presence is enough, that His love is enough. When you learn to be content in God, you are no longer swayed by the ups and downs of life. You are no longer dependent on others for your sense of worth. You are rooted in something eternal, something unshakable. And that is a gift beyond measure. God may also be calling you into solitude to deepen your compassion for others. When we experience loneliness, we are better able to empathize with those who feel alone. Our hearts are softened, our understanding is deepened. We begin to see the people around us not just as companions, but as individuals who may be struggling with their own feelings of isolation. In this way, God uses our loneliness to expand our capacity to love, to care, and to serve. He prepares us to be a light to those who are walking in darkness, to offer hope to those who feel forgotten. In this season of solitude, remember that you are never truly alone. God is with you even when it feels like no one else is. His presence is constant, His love is unwavering. He is walking with you through the quiet, through the silence, through the loneliness. He is using this time to draw you closer to Him, to deepen your faith, to refine your character, and to prepare you for the journey ahead. This is not a time to fear, but a time to trust. Trust that God knows what He is doing. Trust that He is working all things for your good. Trust that this season of being alone is not the end of your story, but the beginning of something new, something beautiful, something beyond what you can imagine. The path of solitude may be difficult, but it is also sacred. It is a path that leads to deeper intimacy with God, greater self-awareness, and a clearer sense of purpose. It is a path that transforms you, refines you, and prepares you for the next chapter of your life. So, embrace this time. Trust in God's plan, and know that even in your loneliness, you are never truly alone. In these moments of quiet and solitude, there is an opportunity for reflection that rarely comes in the noise and busyness of life. When the distractions fade away and we are left alone with our thoughts, our prayers, and the presence of God, something profound begins to happen. We start to realize that perhaps what we've been avoiding by filling our lives with so much noise is not loneliness at all, but ourselves. God often allows us to be alone so that we may come face to face with who we truly are, not the version we present to the world, but the person we are when no one else is watching. This is not always an easy encounter. It can be uncomfortable, even painful, to confront the depths of our hearts. But it is only in this raw honesty that transformation begins. God's desire for us in these moments is not to make us feel isolated or forgotten, but to draw us into deeper communion with Him. He longs to meet us in the place where our deepest longings, fears, and desires reside. In this sacred encounter, we learn that His grace is sufficient for all that we are and all that we lack. He begins to heal the wounds that we have kept hidden, the hurts that we have buried beneath layers of distraction, and the insecurities that we have covered with pride or self-reliance. There is a stripping away that happens in solitude. The roles we play, the masks we wear, and the defenses we build are all laid bare. God doesn't need us to impress Him. He doesn't ask us to come to Him with perfection. Instead, He invites us to bring our brokenness, our questions, and our uncertainties to Him, trusting that in His presence we will find healing, answers, and peace. And it is often in these quiet, unguarded moments that we begin to experience His love in a way we never could when we are surrounded by the noise of the world. Being alone with God is a unique form of intimacy. It is where He speaks to our hearts in ways that words cannot describe. It is where we learn to recognize His voice, not as one that competes with the chaos around us, but as a still, small voice that whispers in the deepest part of our souls. It is where we begin to understand that His presence is not dependent on our circumstances, nor is His love for us contingent on what we do or don't do. In this quiet space, God teaches us to listen not just with our ears, but with our hearts. He teaches us to be still and know that He is God. In the stillness, we begin to realize that all of the things we have been chasing, the things we thought would make us feel fulfilled or happy, pale in comparison to the peace and fulfillment that come from simply being with Him. But this solitude is not just about introspection, it is also about preparation. God doesn't lead us into the wilderness without purpose. Just as He led His people into the wilderness to prepare them for the promised land, He leads us into seasons of aloneness to prepare us for what lies ahead. He is equipping us, refining us, and strengthening us for the next chapter of our lives. Sometimes we must be alone to grow. Just as seeds need time in the dark soil before they can sprout, we too need seasons of solitude before we can fully blossom into who God has called us to be. And while the world may see being alone as a sign of weakness or failure, God sees it differently. In His economy, it is often in our weakest moments that His strength is made perfect. It is when we are stripped of all that we rely on, when we have no one else to turn to but Him, that we truly begin to understand the depth of His power and the magnitude of His grace. Loneliness can also be a test of our faith. When we are alone, when it feels as though God Himself is silent, we are faced with a choice: will we trust that He is still there, even when we cannot feel His presence? Will we hold on to the promises He has made, even when our circumstances suggest otherwise? This is where faith is forged, in the quiet, in the waiting, in the moments when we cannot see the way forward, but we trust that God is still leading us. In these moments of solitude, we also learn the art of surrender. There is so much in life that we cannot control: people, outcomes, situations. And often in our striving to hold on to what we think we need, we lose sight of the one thing that truly matters: our relationship with God. Solitude teaches us to let go. It teaches us to release our grip on the things that we think define us or give us worth, and to rest in the truth that our worth comes from God alone. This surrender is not a passive resignation, but an active trust. It is saying, God, I don't understand why I'm alone right now, but I trust that you do. I trust that you are working in ways that I cannot see. I trust that you are for me, even when it feels like the world is against me. This kind of trust is not easy, but it is in these moments of trust that we experience the peace that surpasses understanding. There is also a kind of solitude that God uses to protect us. Sometimes being alone is His way of removing us from situations or relationships that are not in our best interest. We may not understand it at the time, and we may even resist it, but God, in His infinite wisdom, knows what is best for us. He sees the end from the beginning, and He knows what we need to walk in the fullness of our purpose. When God calls us to be alone, it may be because He is saving us from something that would harm us or distract us from His plan. It is in these moments that we are reminded of His sovereignty. We are reminded that God is in control, even when we feel out of control. We are reminded that His plans for us are good, even when our current situation doesn't feel good. And we are reminded that His timing is perfect, even when we feel like we've been waiting forever. Solitude is also an opportunity to realign our priorities. When we are constantly surrounded by people and activity, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters. We can get so caught up in the demands of life that we forget to seek first the kingdom of God. But in solitude, we are given the space to reflect on what is most important. We are given the opportunity to refocus our hearts and minds on God, and to realign our lives with His will. God may also want you to be alone to teach you to depend on Him in a way that you never have before. When we are alone, we are forced to confront our own insufficiencies, our own limitations. We realize that we are not as self-sufficient as we may have thought. And it is in this realization that we turn to God with a new kind of dependence. We begin to understand that we were never meant to carry the burdens of life on our own. We were always meant to rely on Him, to lean on His strength, to trust in His provision. Being alone is not just about being physically apart from others. It is about creating space for God to do His work in us. It is about setting aside the distractions, the noise, and the busyness of life so that we can hear His voice more clearly. It is about allowing Him to shape us, to mold us, and to prepare us for what is to come. God wants you to be alone because He wants to meet you in that solitude. He wants to reveal Himself to you in ways that are only possible when you are quiet, when you are still, when you are open to hearing His voice. He wants to take you deeper in your relationship with Him, to show you that He is enough, that His presence is enough, and that His love is enough. In this season of being alone, God is doing more than you can see or understand. He is preparing you, refining you, and drawing you closer to Himself. And though it may feel like you are walking this path alone, know that God is with you every step of the way. He is not distant. He is not absent. He is there in the quiet, in the stillness, in the loneliness, working, healing, and loving you more deeply than you can imagine. Even in those moments where you feel entirely isolated, where the silence seems too overwhelming to bear, God is closer than you can comprehend. His presence is woven into the very fabric of that silence. It is in these moments of stillness that God's voice becomes clearer, His direction more distinct, and His love more evident. When all else is stripped away, we are left with the most essential truth: God is with us, and He is for us. God's desire for your solitude is not to leave you feeling abandoned, but rather to lead you into a deeper understanding of His faithfulness. In the hustle and bustle of life, we can easily lose sight of how God is present in every circumstance, every detail. We can become so consumed by the demands of daily living that we forget to recognize the ways in which He is sustaining us. Solitude gives us the opportunity to recalibrate, to refocus on His goodness, and to remember that He is our source of strength, peace, and joy. In being alone, we rediscover the simple yet profound truth that God is enough. There is something transformative about realizing that you do not need the validation or approval of others to be secure in who you are. The world often tells us that our worth is tied to our achievements, our relationships, or how we are perceived by others. But in solitude, God teaches us that our worth is found in Him alone. When you are alone with God, you learn that His opinion of you is the only one that truly matters. You begin to see yourself through His eyes as His beloved child, chosen and cherished, not because of what you do, but because of who you are in Him. This time of being alone is also a call to deeper dependence on God. When we are surrounded by people, it is easy to rely on them for comfort, advice, or guidance. But in solitude, we are reminded that God is our ultimate source. He is the one who provides for all our needs, who understands us better than anyone else ever could. This reliance on God, cultivated in seasons of solitude, strengthens our faith and deepens our trust in Him. We learn that He is enough, that His grace is sufficient, and that His presence fills every void we may feel. Being alone can also be a season of preparation. Throughout Scripture, we see examples of individuals whom God called into solitude before a significant moment in their lives. Moses was alone in the desert before leading the Israelites out of Egypt. David spent time alone tending sheep before becoming king. Even Jesus withdrew into the wilderness before beginning His public ministry. In each of these cases, solitude was not a punishment, but a preparation for the greater calling that lay ahead. God uses these times to strengthen us, to refine us, and to prepare us for what He has in store. When we are alone, God is often shaping our character. He is molding us into the people He has created us to be. In solitude, we confront the areas of our lives that need transformation, the parts of us that are still clinging to fear, insecurity, or pride. It is in these quiet moments with God that He gently works on our hearts, removing the things that hinder us from fully living out our purpose. We may not always recognize it in the moment, but God is doing a deep work in us during these times of solitude, preparing us for the journey ahead. One of the greatest lessons we can learn in solitude is the art of waiting on God. Our culture values instant gratification, and we often expect immediate answers or results. But God's timing is different from ours. In solitude, we learn the importance of patience, of trusting that God's plan is unfolding exactly as it should, even when we cannot see the full picture. Waiting on God requires faith, and it is in the waiting that our faith is strengthened. We learn to trust not only in His promises but also in His timing. Solitude can be uncomfortable because it forces us to face ourselves without the distractions that usually fill our lives. But it is in this discomfort that we grow. We begin to confront the areas of our lives that we may have been avoiding. Perhaps there are unresolved hurts, unspoken fears, or hidden insecurities that we've kept buried beneath the surface. In solitude, these things come to light, and it is here that God invites us to bring them to Him. He invites us to lay down our burdens, to let go of the things that weigh us down, and to trust Him with our deepest struggles. When we are alone, we also learn the importance of rest. In a world that glorifies busyness, solitude is an invitation to slow down, to be still, and to rest in God's presence. This rest is not just physical but also spiritual. It is a time to cease from striving, to stop trying to earn God's favor or prove our worth, and to simply rest in the knowledge that we are already loved, already accepted, already enough. In solitude, we are reminded that we are not defined by what we do, but by who we are in Christ. There is also a kind of freedom that comes from being alone. When we are not surrounded by the expectations of others, we are free to be who God has created us to be. We no longer feel the pressure to conform to the world's standards or to live up to the expectations that others may place on us. Instead, we can fully embrace our identity as God's beloved children, walking in the freedom that comes from knowing we are fully known and fully loved by our Creator. In solitude, God often reveals things to us that we might not have noticed in the busyness of life. It is in these quiet moments that He speaks to our hearts, guiding us, directing us, and showing us the way forward. We begin to see things more clearly, to understand His will for our lives more fully. Solitude gives us the space to listen to God's voice, to listen to our own hearts, and to discern the path that God is calling us to walk. There may be times when being alone feels like a wilderness experience, where it seems like God is distant or silent. But even in the wilderness, God is present. He is using this time to teach you, to grow you, and to draw you closer to Him. The wilderness is not a place of abandonment, but a place of transformation. It is in the wilderness that God shapes us, refines us, and prepares us for the promised land that lies ahead. In these moments of solitude, we also learn the importance of gratitude. When we are alone, we have the space to reflect on all that God has done for us, to recognize His faithfulness in our lives, and to give thanks for His continued presence and provision. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, from our circumstances to God's goodness. It is in solitude that we cultivate a heart of thankfulness, recognizing that even in the quiet, even in the waiting, God is at work in our lives. Being alone with God is an invitation to go deeper, to deepen our faith, our trust, and our relationship with Him. It is a time of growth, of healing, and of preparation. Though it may not always be easy, it is in these moments that we experience the fullness of God's love and grace. We learn to rely on Him in ways we never have before, and we come to understand that He is enough for every need, every desire, and every moment of our lives. So when you find yourself in a season of solitude, know that it is not without purpose. God is with you in this time, working in ways that you may not yet see or understand. He is preparing you, refining you, and drawing you closer to Himself. Embrace the quiet, embrace the stillness, and know that in this solitude you are never truly alone. God is with you, and He is for you. In those moments of deep isolation, when it feels as though the world has moved on without you, God is not absent, nor is He indifferent to your experience. In fact, this isolation can be a profound form of God's presence, a space where He is at work in you in ways that may not yet be apparent. It is often when we are stripped of external noise, distractions, and the comfort of companionship that we can hear the gentle whisper of His voice. The absence of others does not signify the absence of God. Rather, it becomes a holy moment, a space where the divine meets us most intimately. We are conditioned by society to seek constant connection, to fill our lives with noise and activity. Silence is unsettling to many, and solitude can seem like a barren wilderness. Yet it is in the wilderness that God often prepares His people. Moses encountered God in the wilderness. Elijah heard God's whisper in a cave far from the crowds. Jesus Himself retreated to solitary places, away from the masses, to commune with the Father. These moments of solitude are not wasted. They are the crucible where faith is forged, where character is refined, and where the soul is strengthened. God sometimes calls us into solitude because He knows we need to be reminded of our dependence on Him. When surrounded by the noise of life, it's easy to rely on ourselves, on the opinions of others, or on the distractions that keep us from facing our inner struggles. But when those things are stripped away, we come face to face with our need for God. We realize how much we depend on Him for every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of life. Solitude removes the crutches we often lean on, allowing us to lean fully into God, trusting that He is sufficient. In the quiet of being alone, we begin to see more clearly what truly matters. The things we thought were so important, our achievements, our reputation, our busyness, begin to pale in comparison to the richness of knowing God. Solitude recalibrates our priorities. It helps us see that the things of this world are fleeting, but the presence of God is eternal. It is in these moments of stillness that we learn to cherish the eternal over the temporal, the divine over the earthly. We begin to understand that our identity is not in what we do, but in who we are as children of God. There is also a profound peace that comes with solitude. Though loneliness can initially feel like a burden, over time it becomes a gift. In the stillness, God's peace settles over us like a blanket, comforting and reassuring us that He is in control. We learn that we do not need to strive or struggle to be seen or heard by the world, for God sees us. He knows the innermost parts of our hearts, the thoughts we hide from others, the fears we dare not speak aloud. And in knowing us so intimately, He still loves us completely. This is the peace that surpasses understanding, the peace that comes from being fully known and fully loved by the Creator of the universe. Through solitude, God also teaches us the power of surrender. When we are alone, we have no one to impress, no one to hide behind. We are left with ourselves, raw and vulnerable, before God. In these moments, God invites us to surrender the burdens we've been carrying, to let go of the anxieties and fears that have weighed us down. Solitude becomes a sacred space of release, where we can hand over to God the things that we cannot control and trust that He will take care of them. It is in surrender that we find freedom, for we realize that we do not have to bear the weight of the world on our shoulders. God has already carried it for us. God also uses solitude to develop resilience within us. In times of loneliness, we are often faced with challenges that test our faith and our character. We may be tempted to give up, to question whether God is truly with us in our struggle. Yet it is in these very moments that God is building within us a strength that can only be forged through adversity. The trials we face in solitude become the training ground for greater things to come. They prepare us for the battles we will face in life, equipping us with the endurance to persevere and the faith to trust in God's ultimate victory. Solitude is also a time for deep self-reflection, a time to examine the state of our hearts and to allow God to bring healing where it is needed. In the busyness of life, we can easily ignore the wounds we carry, the hurts that linger in the depths of our souls. But in solitude, God brings these wounds to the surface, not to harm us, but to heal us. He is the great physician, and in the stillness He begins the work of restoration. He tenderly addresses the pain, the regrets, the unforgiveness, and the shame we've been holding on to, and He replaces it with His grace, His love, and His forgiveness. Solitude teaches us to rely on God's voice above all others. When we are constantly surrounded by people and noise, it's easy to be influenced by the opinions and expectations of others. But when we are alone, we are given the opportunity to tune into God's voice more clearly. It is in these moments that He speaks to us, guiding us, directing us, and reassuring us of His plans for our lives. We begin to learn the sound of His voice, to recognize His leading, and to trust in the path He has set before us. Solitude strengthens our ability to hear and respond to God, not out of fear of what others may think, but out of a deep desire to follow Him wherever He may lead. In the quiet of being alone, we are also reminded of the beauty of God's creation. Without the distractions of daily life, we have the opportunity to notice the intricate details of the world around us, the rustling of the trees, the songs of the birds, the warmth of the sun on our skin. These small moments become reminders of God's presence, of His creativity, and of His love for His creation. We begin to see the world through new eyes, appreciating the wonder of God's handiwork and recognizing that even in our loneliness, we are surrounded by the beauty of His creation. God may also call us into solitude to prepare us for what lies ahead. Just as Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness before beginning His ministry, we may be called into a season of solitude as a time of preparation. In this time, God is equipping us, refining us, and readying us for the next chapter of our journey. The solitude may feel difficult, even painful, but it is a necessary part of God's process of transformation. He is shaping us into the people He has called us to be, preparing us for the work He has set before us. And when the time comes, we will emerge from this season of solitude stronger, more focused and more attuned to His will for our lives. Being alone with God is not a punishment, it is a privilege. It is an opportunity to draw closer to the One who knows us better than we know ourselves, to learn from Him, and to be shaped by Him. In these moments of solitude, we discover the depths of His love, the power of His presence, and the beauty of His plan for our lives. Though the world may tell us that being alone is something to be feared or avoided, God shows us that it is in the solitude that we are most fully known, most deeply loved, and most intimately connected to Him. Through solitude, we learn the value of waiting on God. Our culture is obsessed with speed, with immediate results, with instant gratification. But God operates on a different timetable. He is not in a rush, and He is not bound by our impatience. In solitude, we learn the art of waiting on His timing, trusting in His plans, and believing that He is working all things for our good. This waiting is not passive, but active. It is a time of preparing our hearts, of deepening our faith, and of growing in our trust that God's ways are higher than our ways, and His timing is perfect. Finally, solitude is a reminder that we are never truly alone. Even in our most isolated moments, God is with us. His presence fills every space, every silence, and every corner of our lives. He is Emmanuel, God with us, and He will never leave us nor forsake us. In solitude, we come to know this truth in a deeper way. We learn that even when we feel alone, we are not abandoned. God is present, working in ways we may not yet see, preparing us for the future He has planned for us. Solitude becomes a sacred space, a place of encounter with the living God who is always near, always loving, and always faithful. As we draw deeper into the experience of being alone, we begin to realize that solitude is not the absence of connection, but the opening of our hearts to a different kind of connection, a connection with God that cannot be found in the noise of everyday life. Often we resist this state because we fear it will reveal parts of ourselves we are not ready to face. But it is precisely in this place of discomfort that God can perform His most profound work within us. He doesn't call us to solitude to punish us, but to show us the deeper truths that are hidden beneath the surface distractions of life. I think about how the great figures of the Bible were shaped by their moments of solitude. It wasn't in the hustle of everyday life that they encountered the voice of God or experienced personal transformation. It was in their moments of stillness. Moses, for example, spent years in the wilderness before he encountered God in the burning bush. He had to leave behind the distractions of his old life, the noise of Egypt, and even his own ambitions to be quiet enough to hear God's call. When Moses was alone, God spoke, and it was in that solitude that Moses found the courage to return to Egypt and fulfill his destiny. Solitude does something similar for us. It allows us to strip away all the external validations we've relied on for so long and face the inner realities we've often avoided. Alone, we have no audience to perform for, no roles to fulfill, no societal expectations to meet. What remains is our truest self and the quiet presence of God, who sees us as we truly are. In this state, we begin to confront the parts of ourselves we have hidden or neglected. And in this confrontation, there is healing. The wounds we have carried sometimes for years can finally begin to be acknowledged and treated by God's loving hand. There is something about the absence of human companionship that makes God's companionship feel all the more real. When we are alone, we begin to perceive His presence in ways we might not when surrounded by others. We notice His voice in the gentle breeze, His artistry in the sunrise, His faithfulness in the changing seasons. It's as if the veil between heaven and earth becomes a little thinner when we are alone. The distractions of life fade, and we start to sense the subtle ways God speaks and moves. It's a reminder that He is not far off, but very near, ever present, even in the quietest moments. God may also desire for us to be alone because He wants to reveal something new to us, something we could not hear or understand in the busy clamor of life. Perhaps He is planting a new vision or calling within us, or maybe He is showing us an aspect of His character we have not fully grasped. Solitude becomes the fertile ground where this revelation can take root and grow. But it requires our willingness to sit in the silence, to be patient, and to trust that even in the stillness, God is at work. It's often in these periods of waiting and isolation that God refines our patience and teaches us perseverance. In a world that prizes quick results and instant gratification, God's timing can feel slow and confusing. But His timing is perfect. The waiting that solitude requires is not wasted time, but a necessary part of our spiritual growth. It is in the waiting that our faith is tested, and it is in the waiting that our dependence on God deepens. We come to understand that we are not in control of the outcomes, and that's okay, because we serve a God who sees the bigger picture and who knows exactly what we need and when we need it. There's another profound lesson that God teaches us in solitude, that our worth is not defined by our productivity, our relationships, or our accomplishments. In a world that often equates busyness with value, solitude forces us to confront the unsettling question of who we are when we are doing nothing. But it's in this very space that God reminds us that our worth is intrinsic. We are valuable simply because we are His creation, made in His image. He delights in us not because of what we do, but because of who we are. This is a truth that we may struggle to accept when we are caught up in the frenzy of life. But solitude gives us the opportunity to sit with it and let it sink deeply into our hearts. Furthermore, solitude allows us to reconnect with the simplicity of life. Without the constant demands of social interactions or the pressures to meet expectations, we begin to notice the beauty in small things. The rhythm of nature, the peace of quiet moments, the joy of simply being, all these things come into sharper focus when we are alone. It's as though God uses this time to recalibrate our senses, helping us to see the world and our place in it from a fresh perspective. We start to appreciate the small gifts we often overlook, and we come to understand that contentment isn't found in abundance, but in a heart that is at rest in God. God also uses solitude to prepare us for future challenges. Just as an athlete trains in private before stepping into the spotlight, God uses our seasons of isolation to strengthen us for what lies ahead. It may be a time of equipping us with greater wisdom, deeper faith, or more resilience. Whatever the purpose, solitude becomes a place of preparation, a time where God fortifies our souls for the battles we will face in the future. And when we emerge from these seasons, we are not the same. We are stronger, more grounded in our faith, and more ready to face the world with the knowledge that we do not walk alone. In moments of solitude, we also begin to discern the false idols we've unknowingly placed before God. Whether it's the approval of others, the pursuit of success, or the need for constant entertainment, solitude exposes the things we've allowed to take priority over our relationship with God. These idols may have brought temporary satisfaction, but they ultimately leave us feeling empty. It is in the quietness of being alone that God gently reveals these misplaced affections and invites us to refocus our hearts on Him. It is a process of reordering our desires, of learning to seek first the kingdom of God, knowing that everything else will fall into place. Solitude is not just about withdrawal, it is about connection. By pulling away from the world for a time, we create the space to connect more deeply with God. And as we do, we begin to see that the aloneness we feared is actually a gift. It is a gift because it brings us closer to the one who is always with us, who will never leave us or forsake us. It is a gift because it teaches us that true companionship is found not in the fleeting relationships of this world, but in the eternal relationship we have with our Creator. God may also want us to be alone so that we can rediscover the power of prayer. When we are alone, we are more attuned to the still, small voice of God that speaks in the silence. Prayer becomes less about speaking and more about listening. It becomes a dialogue rather than a monologue. In solitude, we learn to pray with greater depth, not just with words, but with our hearts. We begin to understand that prayer is not just a list of requests, but a posture of being in God's presence, of surrendering our will to His, and of trusting that He hears us even in the silence. As we sit in solitude, we may also discover a deeper sense of gratitude. Without the distractions of life, we become more aware of the blessings we've been given. We begin to see the grace in every breath, the beauty in every moment, the love that surrounds us even when we feel alone. Solitude allows us to cultivate a heart of gratitude, to thank God for the things we often take for granted, and to recognize His goodness even in the midst of our trials. Ultimately, solitude teaches us that God is enough. When all is stripped away, when we are alone with no one to lean on, no distractions to fill the void, no achievements to validate us, we discover that God is sufficient. He is our portion, our strength, our refuge. In Him we find everything we need. Solitude is the school where this truth is learned, and though it may be a hard lesson at times, it is one that leads to lasting peace and joy. God's desire for us to be alone is not to leave us isolated, but to draw us into deeper communion with Him. In solitude we find not emptiness but fullness. We find not loneliness, but the overwhelming presence of a loving God who meets us in the quiet places of our hearts and fills us with His peace, His love, and His joy. And when we finally emerge from this time of solitude, we do so not as people who have been abandoned, but as those who have been profoundly transformed by the God who never leaves us alone. In the end, solitude is not something to be feared, but embraced as a gift from God. It is in these moments of quiet that we discover His presence most profoundly, His love most deeply, and His purpose for our lives most clearly. Through solitude, God refines us, heals us, and prepares us for what lies ahead. It is a sacred time when we learn that our worth is not determined by the world, but by our Creator who desires to be close to us. When we step out of this time alone with Him, we are not diminished but renewed, stronger in faith, and anchored in the knowledge that we are never truly alone. God is always with us, guiding us, shaping us, and loving us through every season of life. You are living in a world that appears solid, structured, and deeply familiar. The people you meet, the places you visit, the events that unfold, everything seems real, tangible, and permanent. But what if I told you that this world, this reality, is more like a dream? A dream you are participating in, one that you are not just living within, but are also the creator of, without even knowing it. This might sound like fantasy, but what if the truth of existence is far more mysterious than you've been led to believe? What if your entire life is happening within a grand simulation? Everything you experience, everything you perceive, is a reflection of your beliefs, your inner thoughts, and your imagination. The way out of this simulation is not by breaking some external barrier or unlocking hidden doors, but by awakening to the true nature of yourself and the power you hold. You are not a victim of circumstances, nor are you trapped within this world unless you believe you are. Look around. Everything you see is a product of your focus and attention. Every obstacle, every success, every person, and every event in your life was drawn to you through your awareness. You might believe you are subject to the whims of fate or destiny, but in reality, it's all a projection of your inner world. You are the architect of your own experience. The world is a mirror, reflecting not what you want, but what you deeply believe. The illusion of the simulation is that the world exists outside of you, that it is separate and independent of your thoughts. But this couldn't be further from the truth. This world, this experience, is a stage where your inner convictions play out. It's like a dream where everything feels so real, yet the moment you wake up, you realize it was all a creation of your mind. The exit from the simulation is not physical, it's not something you can find with your eyes. It's an internal shift, a transformation of perception. You exit the simulation by awakening to the knowledge that you are both the dreamer and the dream. You are the source from which all of this springs. You must begin to understand that the power lies within you. The laws of this simulation are simple. What you believe is what you experience. Your beliefs shape your reality. Your thoughts, especially those deep, habitual ones that operate below the surface, govern the conditions of your life. If you believe in lack, you will experience lack. If you believe in love, love will surround you. The exit is not found in trying to manipulate the external world, but in transforming the inner world, the place where the simulation begins. Start to see the patterns in your life, the recurring situations, the repetitive struggles. These are not random occurrences. They are the result of the energy you've been carrying, the beliefs you've held for too long without question. When you become aware of these patterns, you've taken the first step toward breaking free. The key is not in resistance, but in recognition. Recognize that the simulation is playing out your beliefs and that those beliefs can be changed. If you want to exit, the way is through mastery of your thoughts and emotions. Too often we allow ourselves to be tossed around by external events, reacting to the world as if it's in control of us. But what if you flip the script? What if, Instead of reacting to the world, you acted as the creator. Imagine if you consciously decided the kind of life you wanted, the experiences you desired, and the person you wanted to be. That's where the power lies. You are not powerless. You've never been powerless. The illusion is that you need to fight or strive to change the world around you. But in truth, you need only to change yourself, and the world will follow. It's like waking up from a dream. In a dream, no matter how real it seems, the moment you realize you are dreaming, you can control the dream, you can shift it, shape it, and make it whatever you wish. This world, this so-called simulation, is no different. But how do you awaken to this knowledge? How do you step out of the old patterns, the limiting beliefs, the constraints that seem to bind you? It begins with awareness. You must begin to observe yourself not as a passive participant, but as a creator. Watch your thoughts, your reactions, your feelings. These are the keys that unlock the exit. Every time you catch yourself in a negative thought, every time you notice a belief that limits you, that is an opportunity to break free. You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness behind them. Start imagining the life you desire. Visualize it in great detail. See it, feel it, and know it to be real, even if the world around you says otherwise. The simulation responds to your inner state, not the other way around. If you maintain a state of abundance, abundance will manifest. If you remain in a state of love, love will appear in your life. The exit from the simulation is not some far-off destination. It's here, in this moment, waiting for you to realize that you've had the key all along. Stop allowing external events to dictate your reality. Start dictating your reality through the power of your imagination. Imagination is the tool that frees you from the constraints of the world. It is your direct connection to the infinite. The images you hold in your mind, the feelings you entertain, these are the blueprints for your life. The more you align with the reality you desire in your inner world, the more the outer world will shift to match it. The exit is here in your ability to dream consciously, to imagine deliberately, to feel deeply. But it requires discipline. It requires a conscious decision to stop living by default, to stop letting the simulation run your life on autopilot. You must take control. You must become the active creator, not the passive observer. This is the great secret, the great mystery. The world is not happening to you, you are happening to the world. Every thought you entertain, every belief you hold, every emotion you feel, it all feeds into the simulation. It all shapes the reality you experience. The more you become aware of this, the more you will realize that you have the power to change anything, to transform any situation, to become anyone you wish to be. But it all begins within. The simulation is simply a reflection of your inner world. Change the inner, and the outer must follow. It's time to wake up. It's time to see the truth. You've been playing this game for too long, believing you were at the mercy of forces outside of your control. But now you know the truth. You are in control. You always have been. The exit is not out there, it's within you. It's in your thoughts, your beliefs, your imagination. Shift those and you shift the world. There is nothing you cannot achieve, no reality you cannot experience, no dream that is beyond your reach. The only limits are the ones you impose on yourself. The only boundaries are the ones you believe in. The moment you stop believing in those boundaries, the moment you release those limiting beliefs, the walls of the simulation begin to crumble. You are infinite, powerful, and limitless. The simulation is but a shadow of your true self, a reflection of your inner state. So step into your power. Claim your birthright as the creator of your reality. The world is waiting for you to awaken. The simulation is ready to bend to your will. All you need to do is decide. Decide who you want to be, what you want to experience, and how you want to live. And then live from that place. Feel it, know it, trust it. The exit is already here within you, waiting for you to step through. The moment you begin to understand that everything is connected to your state of mind, you will start to see the simulation for what it really is, a construct of your consciousness, reflecting your internal world with precision. This is why you must be mindful of what you think and feel. Because your mind is like a projector, casting your beliefs and emotions onto the screen of your reality. The life you experience is simply the outpicturing of your inner dialogue, your constant thoughts, and your imagined scenarios. If you believe you are stuck, you will continue to feel stuck. If you believe you are free, the doors to freedom will appear before you. You see, the exit from the simulation is not an escape from the world itself. You don't need to run away or change your external circumstances. The exit is a shift in your understanding of reality, a deep, internal shift in how you perceive yourself and the world around you. It's about realizing that you are not confined by the limitations of this world. Rather, this world is confined by the limitations you place upon it. The moment you change your perception, the world changes with you. What does that mean in practical terms? It means that the thoughts you hold most often, the ones that repeat in your mind throughout the day, are the very threads that weave your reality together. If you are constantly worrying, feeling anxious, or doubting yourself, you are feeding those emotions into the simulation. The simulation doesn't judge or question your beliefs, it simply reflects them back to you. This is why it's crucial to master your thoughts, to choose them deliberately, to become conscious of the inner conversation you are having with yourself. Imagine for a moment that the world is a blank canvas and your mind is the brush. Whatever picture you paint with your thoughts, the simulation brings into being. If you paint a picture of lack, scarcity, and struggle, that is what you will experience. If you paint a picture of abundance, joy, and success, those will become your reality. The key is to understand that you are the painter. You are not at the mercy of the external world. The external world is at the mercy of your inner state. This is where many get stuck. They look at their lives and see things they don't like, perhaps financial difficulties, relationship challenges, or health issues, and they believe those external circumstances are permanent, fixed, and beyond their control. But this is just part of the illusion. The simulation wants you to believe that the external world is real and unchangeable, but it is only as real as the thoughts you continue to hold about it. If you want to change your life, you must first change the beliefs that keep those circumstances in place. But this requires discipline. The exit from the simulation is not a one-time event, it's a continuous process of awakening, of aligning yourself with the truth of who you really are. You must be vigilant in your thoughts, guarding against negativity and doubt. Every time you catch yourself slipping into old patterns of fear, lack, or limitation, you must stop and consciously redirect your mind toward the reality you wish to experience. This is the work, the real work. It's not about manipulating the outer world, but about mastering the inner world. The simulation is designed to keep you in a state of unconsciousness, to keep you reacting to the world rather than creating it. But the moment you wake up to the truth of your power, the simulation loses its grip on you. You become the master of your destiny, the creator of your life. You begin to realize that the limits you once believed in were self-imposed. The barriers you thought were real were merely illusions created by your own mind. This is why you must be bold in your imagination. Dare to dream bigger than you ever have before. Imagine a life that goes beyond what you've been told is possible. The simulation will try to convince you that you are limited, that you can only achieve so much. But these are just programs running in the background, programs you have the power to override. You are the programmer of your own life, and the code you write is your thoughts and beliefs. When you fully understand this, you will no longer be a passive participant in the simulation. You will take control of your reality, knowing that nothing is impossible for you. The exit is not about escaping life, but about living life from a place of conscious creation. It's about realizing that the boundaries of this world are flexible, that they bend to the will of your imagination and the power of your belief. The more you live from this state of awareness, the more the world will open up to you. Opportunities will appear where there once were none. Doors will open that you didn't even know existed. People will show up in your life who can help you on your journey. This is the magic of the simulation. It responds to the energy you put out. When you align yourself with the state of already having what you desire, the simulation must bring it into your experience. But this doesn't mean you won't face challenges. The simulation will test you, pushing you to see if you truly believe in your power. It will present obstacles, not to punish you, but to help you grow, to help you become even more aligned with the truth of who you are. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your belief in your own creative power. The key is not to give in to fear or doubt, but to remain steadfast in your vision, knowing that the world must conform to your inner state. And here's the most beautiful part: once you understand how the simulation works, you will begin to feel a deep sense of freedom. You will no longer feel trapped by your circumstances, because you will know that you have the power to change them. You will no longer feel like a victim of life, because you will realize that you are the creator of your own experience. This is the ultimate exit from the simulation, the realization that you are the one in control. So what will you create? What kind of life will you choose to experience? The choice is entirely yours. The power is entirely within you. All you need to do is awaken to it, to see the simulation for what it really is, a reflection of your thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. And once you do, you will realize that the exit has been with you all along. It's not out there, but within you, waiting for you to step through the doorway of your own mind into the infinite realm of possibility. Once you step into this realization, everything around you begins to shift. The veil of the simulation becomes thinner and thinner as you start to see beyond the illusion, beyond the surface of what you thought was real. You notice that the things you once believed were immovable, those walls of limitation, those obstacles of doubt, begin to dissolve as you shift your consciousness. It becomes clear that you were never trapped in the first place, only conditioned to believe you were. The simulation is only as real as you allow it to be. Now that you're seeing things differently, you begin to notice patterns in your thinking, in the people you attract, in the circumstances that seem to repeat in your life. These patterns are clues, showing you the inner programs running in the background. They are not there to keep you stuck, but to reveal the beliefs you've been holding on to, the beliefs that have shaped the reality you've been living. You begin to realize that these repeating patterns are your key to transformation. By changing the beliefs behind the patterns, you alter the course of the simulation itself. But creation doesn't stop at just recognizing the belief. You must take the next step and consciously choose a new belief. You must decide what you want to experience and align yourself with that. This is where imagination comes into play. Your imagination is not just a tool for daydreaming, it is the gateway to creation. Whatever you imagine vividly and consistently with feeling will become your reality. The simulation will mold itself around the images you hold in your mind. So begin to use your imagination deliberately. Spend time each day visualizing the life you desire, not as something far off in the future, but as something you are experiencing right now. As you continue this practice, something incredible happens. The external world begins to shift. You start to notice synchronicities, small signs that the simulation is responding to your new state of being. Maybe it's a phone call from someone offering you an opportunity, or a sudden idea that leads to a breakthrough. These are not random occurrences, they are the reflection of your internal shift. The simulation, which once seemed so rigid and unchangeable, begins to bend to your will. This is how you exit it. You change the simulation by changing yourself. But remember, this is not a one-time event. The simulation is constantly responding to the dominant energy you are emitting, which means you must remain consistent in your new state of being. It's easy to slip back into old habits, old patterns of thinking, especially when the external world tries to convince you that nothing has changed. This is where persistence comes in. You must persist in your new state, even when the outer world doesn't yet reflect it. Trust that the world will catch up to your new vibration, because it always does. The simulation has no choice but to reflect your inner state, but it may take time for the old reality to dissolve completely. Patience is key. You must trust the process, even when things seem to be moving slowly. Often the simulation tests your commitment by throwing challenges in your path. These challenges are not meant to deter you, but to strengthen your belief in your own power. Every time you face a challenge, you have a choice. You can react from your old state of being, or you can respond from your new state. The more you choose the latter, the quicker the simulation will shift. And as you continue to awaken to this truth, something even deeper emerges. You realize that the simulation itself is neutral. It is neither good nor bad, it simply responds to your energy. This is a powerful understanding because it frees you from the need to judge or resist the simulation. You no longer see it as something to escape from, but as something to master. The exit, you come to understand, is not about leaving the simulation behind, but about transcending it while still within it. You learn to navigate the simulation with ease, knowing that it is a mirror of your consciousness. At this point, life becomes a game, a beautiful, intricate game where you are both the player and the creator. You are no longer bound by the rules of the simulation, because you understand that you are the one who writes the rules. You create the limits, and you can dissolve them at will. This is freedom, true freedom. The freedom to be, do, and have whatever you desire, simply by aligning with the reality you wish to experience. And here is where the real magic happens. As you continue to operate from this state of awareness, you begin to experience a profound sense of peace. You no longer feel the need to force or struggle to make things happen. You understand that the simulation is always working for you, not against you. The external world becomes a dance, a flow of energy that reflects your inner world. You no longer need to control or manipulate the outer circumstances because you know that everything you need is already within you. The more you relax into this understanding, the more effortlessly the simulation responds to your desires. But don't mistake this for passivity. While the external world may seem to flow more easily, you are still an active participant in your creation. You are constantly choosing, constantly directing your energy toward what you want to experience. The difference now is that you are doing so from a place of ease and certainty, rather than from a place of fear or doubt. You trust in your power, and the simulation responds to that trust. The people around you may not understand what is happening. They may continue to operate within the simulation, believing that life is happening to them rather than for them. But you will know the truth. You will see the simulation for what it really is, a beautiful, flexible, ever-changing reflection of your inner state. And as you continue to live from this awareness, you will inspire others to awaken as well. Your life will become a living example of what is possible when you exit the simulation and step into your true power. So where do you go from here? You continue to create. You continue to explore the limitless possibilities that are available to you. The simulation is not your prison, it is your playground. You are not bound by its rules, you are the author of them. Every moment is an opportunity to create something new, something beautiful, something that reflects the highest version of yourself. This is your invitation to step into the fullness of who you are, to recognize that you are the creator, the dreamer, and the dream. The simulation is yours to command, yours to shape, yours to transform. The exit is not somewhere out there, it is within you. It is your awareness, your consciousness, your ability to choose a new reality. And once you see this, once you feel this, there is no going back. You are free. Free to create, free to explore, free to live the life you were always meant to live. The world, the simulation, will continue to reflect your consciousness. The question is, what will you choose to create next? The possibilities are endless. The power is yours. You stand at the precipice of infinite potential. The world around you, which once felt like a maze of confusion, now unfolds as a vast canvas upon which you can paint your desires. The simulation no longer feels like a trap, it becomes a field of endless opportunities. Every thought, every feeling, every intention you hold is a stroke of your brush. The colors you choose, the emotions you immerse yourself in, they are all shaping the landscape of your reality. When you realize that everything around you is a reflection of your inner world, something profound happens. You begin to let go of the need to control the outer circumstances, the people, and the events. Instead, you shift your focus inward, understanding that the key to transforming the external world lies in mastering the internal one. This is the essence of exiting the simulation, realizing that everything begins within you. At first, this might seem like a challenging concept to fully grasp. You've been conditioned for so long to believe that the world happens to you, that your circumstances are fixed, and that you are at the mercy of fate. But now, with this newfound awareness, you see that you have been the source all along. The thoughts you think, the emotions you allow yourself to dwell on, the beliefs you hold, these are the architects of your reality. Every limitation you experience is not a boundary imposed by the simulation, but a belief you have accepted as truth. The simulation, like a mirror, reflects back to you everything you believe to be true. If you believe that life is hard, that success is elusive, that love is conditional, the simulation will show you evidence of that everywhere you look. But as soon as you change those beliefs, as soon as you shift your focus to new possibilities, the simulation shifts with you. It cannot help but do so, because it is merely reflecting your consciousness. This is why your imagination is so powerful. When you imagine something with feeling, you are planting a seed in the simulation, a seed that will grow and manifest in your external world. But here's the key: it's not enough to just imagine once and then forget about it. You must dwell in the feeling of your desire already being fulfilled. You must make that state of being your new home. This is the true exit from the simulation when you live in the consciousness of your desired reality, regardless of what the outer world currently shows you. You must trust that the outer world will eventually conform to your inner state, because it always does. The simulation is programmed to reflect your dominant state of being. It is law. As you immerse yourself in this new understanding, you begin to see that the simulation is neutral. It has no agenda, no will of its own. It simply reflects what you believe to be true. This is why two people can experience the same event in completely different ways. One person sees an obstacle, while another sees an opportunity. One person feels fear, while another feels excitement. The difference is not in the event itself, but in the state of consciousness of each person. The simulation is responding to both of them, giving each exactly what they expect to see. This is why it's so important to guard your mind. You cannot allow yourself to be swayed by the outer world, because the outer world is simply a reflection of past thoughts and beliefs. If you react to what you see, you only reinforce the current simulation. But if you can hold steady in the face of challenges, if you can maintain your inner state of belief in your desired outcome, the simulation will eventually shift to match that belief. This requires discipline. It requires a deep commitment to your inner work. You must be willing to look beyond the current reality and trust in the unseen. You must be willing to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, even when there is no physical evidence of it yet. This is where so many people get stuck. They want to see the change before they believe it's possible. But that's not how the simulation works. You must believe it first, and then the change will come. Think of it like planting a seed in the ground. When you plant the seed, you don't expect to see the plant immediately. You understand that there is an unseen process happening beneath the surface. You trust that if you water the seed and give it sunlight, it will grow in time. The same is true for your desires. When you hold a vision in your mind and dwell in the feeling of it being already real, you are watering that seed. The more you nourish it with your belief and attention, the faster it will grow and manifest in the physical world. But just as with a seed, if you dig it up every day to see if it's growing, you disrupt the process. You must allow time for the unseen forces of the simulation to do their work. This is where faith comes in. You must trust that the process is working, even when you can't see the results yet. You must remain patient and persistent, knowing that the outer world will eventually reflect your inner world. As you continue on this journey, you will begin to notice subtle shifts in your reality. Maybe it's a conversation that opens a new door, or an unexpected opportunity that seems to come out of nowhere. These are signs that the simulation is responding to your new state of being. But you must not become complacent. You must continue to nurture your inner state, to stay focused on your desired outcome, and to resist the temptation to fall back into old patterns of thinking. The more you do this, the more you will realize that you are not just exiting the simulation, you are mastering it. You are learning to navigate the world with a new level of awareness, understanding that you are the creator of your reality. The simulation is no longer something to escape from, it is something to work with. You begin to see it as a tool, a canvas upon which you can express your deepest desires. And as you master this, life begins to feel lighter, more joyful. The struggles that once seemed so overwhelming lose their power over you. You no longer feel the need to force things to happen or to control every detail of your life. You understand that the simulation will bring you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, as long as you remain aligned with your inner vision. This is the true freedom that comes from exiting the simulation. It's not about escaping to some other dimension or leaving the physical world behind. It's about rising above the limitations of the mind, stepping into the role of creator, and consciously directing your energy toward what you want to experience. It's about living in a state of flow, where everything feels effortless and aligned. And as you embody this new state of being, you become a magnet for all that you desire. The people, opportunities, and experiences that align with your vision are drawn to you effortlessly. You no longer have to chase after them, they come to you. This is the power of exiting the simulation. You no longer feel like you are at the mercy of the world around you. You understand that you are the source, the creator, the one who holds the key to your own reality. Every moment is an opportunity to create something new, to step into a higher version of yourself, to expand your consciousness and experience the limitless potential that is available to you. The simulation is here to serve you, to reflect back to you the truth of who you are. And as you continue to awaken to this truth, the boundaries of the simulation will dissolve, revealing a world of infinite possibilities. So now, as you stand at this threshold, the question is no longer whether you can exit the simulation. The question is, what will you create once you do? The answer is entirely up to you. The power is in your hands. The simulation awaits your command. What will you choose? As you stand on the brink of this realization, the question you must ask yourself is not about the limitations that once surrounded you, but about the infinite potential that lies ahead. The world you once perceived as rigid, constricting, or immovable is now revealed as fluid, flexible, and responsive to your very thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs. You are not bound by the simulation. In fact, you are the master of it. Imagine waking up each day with the awareness that you are not merely participating in life, but creating it. The events, the circumstances, and even the people you encounter are reflections of the energy you emit. The simulation mirrors your inner state, and this knowledge is your greatest tool. You are the painter, the architect, and the builder of your own reality. With every thought you think, every belief you hold, and every emotion you nurture, you are shaping the world around you. There is a tremendous sense of freedom in realizing that nothing in the outer world can dictate who you are unless you allow it. The simulation can no longer convince you that you are powerless. It can no longer persuade you to feel small, insignificant, or helpless. You now understand that the power to exit the limitations of the simulation lies entirely within you. It's not about leaving the physical realm or transcending into another dimension. No, it's about rising above the mental constraints that have held you back. It's about shedding the false beliefs that have kept you confined, breaking free from the self-imposed limits that have been reinforced by the illusion of external control. When you change your inner state, when you shift your consciousness, the simulation has no choice but to follow suit. This is the law. It is inevitable. The outer world must reflect your inner state of being. And so the process of exiting the simulation is not one of struggle or effort. It is not about fighting against what is, nor is it about escaping to some distant place. It is about becoming fully conscious of the fact that you are the creator of your reality. It is about recognizing that the simulation is always reflecting your inner world, and that by changing your inner world, you naturally and effortlessly change the simulation. Think about the power of your imagination. Every time you use it, you are stepping outside of the limitations of the simulation. You are stepping into a realm of infinite possibilities. When you imagine yourself in a new reality, when you feel the emotions of your desires as if they are already fulfilled, you are planting the seeds of that reality within the simulation. And as you hold steady in that state, as you continue to believe in the unseen, the simulation will begin to shift and rearrange itself to bring your inner vision into physical form. This is the beauty of the process. It is not about forcing change or manipulating the external world. It is about aligning yourself with the reality you wish to experience and allowing the simulation to reflect that alignment back to you. The more you immerse yourself in the feeling of your desired outcome, the faster the simulation will respond. But this requires a deep level of trust and patience. You must be willing to live in the state of your wish fulfilled, even when the outer world has yet to show any evidence of it. You must trust in the unseen forces at play, knowing that the simulation is always working in your favor, even when it appears otherwise. As you continue on this journey, you will begin to notice the subtleties of how the simulation responds to your inner state. Perhaps you will observe how certain people seem to change around you, how opportunities appear seemingly out of nowhere, or how the obstacles that once seemed insurmountable suddenly dissolve. These are all signs that you are shifting the simulation. But remember, it's not about controlling or manipulating the outer world, it's about mastering your inner world. The exit from the simulation is not a destination, it's a state of being. It's the understanding that you are no longer confined by the limitations of the world you once perceived. You are free to create, to explore, and to experience life in ways that were previously unimaginable. This is your birthright. The simulation was never meant to imprison you, it was meant to serve you, to reflect back to you the truth of who you are. As you embrace this truth, as you step into the fullness of your creative power, you will notice that life begins to flow with a newfound ease. The things you once struggled to achieve now come to you effortlessly. The relationships, the opportunities, the experiences that align with your highest vision begin to appear in your life as if by magic. But it's not magic, it's the natural consequence of aligning your inner state with the reality you wish to experience. You are no longer a passive participant in the simulation, you are the creator of it. And with that realization comes a sense of profound peace. You no longer need to force, to struggle, or to fight against what is. You simply align yourself with the feeling of your desired reality, and the simulation responds accordingly. This is the law. It is inevitable. And so as you move forward, remember this: the exit from the simulation is not about leaving the physical world behind. It is about awakening to your own creative power within it. It is about realizing that you are the source, the origin, the one who holds the key to your own experience. The simulation is a reflection, and it will always reflect back to you what you believe to be true. You are no longer confined by the limitations of your past beliefs. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the creator, the architect, and the builder of your own reality. And as you step into this new awareness, the simulation will shift to align with your highest vision. What will you create? What will you choose to experience? The possibilities are endless, and the choice is yours. You are free. You have always been free. And now, as you awaken to this truth, the simulation will respond to your every command. This is the power you hold. This is the truth of who you are. Step into it and watch as the world around you transforms in ways you never thought possible. The simulation awaits your direction. What will you create next? The answer is entirely up to you. As you stand on the precipice of this grand realization, it's important to understand that the process of exiting the simulation isn't about turning away from the world or distancing yourself from the life you're living. Instead, it's about awakening to the truth that has always been there, but perhaps hidden beneath layers of misunderstanding, fear, and self-imposed limitations. The journey isn't an escape, it's a deep dive into the essence of who you really are, beyond the external appearances, beyond the experiences that have shaped your perception. The simulation we speak of is nothing more than a reflection of your consciousness. It mirrors back to you the energy, the beliefs, and the assumptions you carry about yourself and the world. This is the profound truth: the world does not act independently of you. It is always responding, always reflecting your internal state. So when you talk about exiting the simulation, you're not talking about stepping into some foreign dimension or transcending the physical altogether. You're talking about transcending the limiting beliefs and mental constructs that have kept you imprisoned within a false narrative of who you think you are. You are not small, you are not limited. And the moment you wake up to the fact that the world outside of you is not fixed or rigid, but malleable and dynamic, you begin to understand the power you hold within. This is the first key to exiting the simulation, shifting your perspective from seeing yourself as a passive participant to recognizing yourself as the creator of your experience. Once this shift occurs, the simulation no longer holds the same power over you. It's as if you've been playing a game without realizing that you are the one holding the controller all along. You've been conditioned to believe that circumstances happen to you, that life unfolds in a manner outside of your control. But what if I told you that every experience, every event, every person who enters your life is a reflection of your inner world? This understanding is liberating because it means that the change you seek does not come from altering the external world, it comes from transforming your internal state of being. And when you transform the way you feel, think, and believe, the world around you responds in kind. Think of the simulation as a mirror. If you want to see a different reflection, you don't reach out and try to change the image in the mirror. You change yourself, and the reflection naturally changes. This is the essence of exiting the simulation. It's not about manipulating the outer world, but mastering your inner one. When you begin to see yourself as the source of your reality, you are no longer trapped by the conditions that once seemed to hold you captive. You realize that every limitation, every obstacle, every fear was nothing more than an illusion born from beliefs you no longer need to hold. But how do you practically live this truth? How do you carry this awareness into your everyday life and apply it in a way that creates real, tangible change? The answer lies in your ability to live as if. This means living from the feeling state of your desired reality before it physically manifests. You see, the simulation responds not to your words or your actions alone, but to the feeling state behind them. When you live in the feeling of your wish already fulfilled, you send out a signal that draws the corresponding circumstances and experiences into your life. You must train yourself to think and feel from your desired outcome, not toward it. Most people spend their lives trying to achieve something that always seems just out of reach. They are constantly in a state of wanting, striving, and struggling, which only perpetuates the experience of lack. But you, knowing what you now know, must flip this dynamic. You must embody the feeling of already having, already being, already doing that which you seek. This is the secret to mastering the simulation. Now, this doesn't mean you ignore the outer world or pretend that your current circumstances don't exist. It means that you see them for what they are, reflections of your past beliefs and assumptions. They are not fixed, they are not permanent, and they can change the moment you change your inner state. This is why it's essential to hold steady in the feeling of your desired outcome, even when the outer world is yet to catch up. Remember, the simulation must reflect back to you what you consistently feel and believe. Patience and persistence are key. The outer world may take time to shift, but it will shift. It has no choice but to align with the new state of consciousness you hold. But during this process, you must remain unwavering in your belief. You must resist the temptation to fall back into old patterns of doubt, fear, and limitation. Every time you do, you re-enter the old simulation, the one where you felt powerless and confined. But when you stand firm in your new belief, when you refuse to let the outer world dictate your inner state, you transcend the simulation. You exit the game of limitation and step into the realm of infinite possibility. As you walk this path, you will notice that the people around you, the circumstances you encounter, and the events that unfold will begin to shift in ways that seem almost magical. But remember, this is not magic, it is simply the natural consequence of aligning your consciousness with the truth of who you are. The world around you is fluid, flexible, and responsive to your inner state. When you embrace this truth, you become the conscious creator of your reality. Exiting the simulation, then, is not about leaving the physical world behind or rejecting your current experience. It is about rising above the mental constructs that have kept you confined. It is about seeing through the illusion of separation and recognizing your oneness with the source of all creation. It is about realizing that the power to shape your reality has always been within you, waiting to be awakened. In this new awareness, you are no longer at the mercy of the simulation. You are the master of it. You are no longer reactive, but proactive in creating the life you desire. The circumstances of the outer world may still challenge you at times, but they no longer have the same power to shake you. You understand that everything in the outer world is simply a reflection of your inner state. And because of this, you hold the key to change. This is the path of true freedom, the freedom that comes from knowing that you are not bound by the limitations of the world around you. The simulation was never meant to imprison you, it was meant to serve as a mirror, reflecting back to you the power of your own mind. As you awaken to this truth, you realize that you are not just a player in the simulation, you are the creator of it. And with that realization, the limitations that once seemed so real begin to dissolve, leaving you free to create a life of infinite possibilities. So as you leave this space today, take with you this deep understanding: the world is not fixed. It is not rigid. It is as fluid and flexible as the thoughts you think and the feelings you hold. And as you change your inner state, the simulation must respond. This is the law. This is the truth. You are not confined by the simulation, you are the one shaping it. Step into this truth, live from this awareness, and watch as the world around you transforms in ways you never thought possible. In this world, as chosen ones, you may often find yourself walking a solitary path, feeling isolated and apart from others. This isolation is not a punishment, but a divine calling. It is a separation ordained by God, meant to serve a higher purpose, one that transcends the limitations of the physical world. To understand this, you must realize that God's ways are not like human ways. His plan is beyond what we can often see or comprehend at the surface level. Your isolation is not to harm you, but to prepare you, to mold you into the person you are destined to be. Many of you might feel the weight of this solitude, wondering why relationships seem to fade away, why friends disappear, or why the world feels distant. This is where most chosen ones find themselves questioning, doubting, and at times even fearing that they have been abandoned. But know this: the isolation you experience is part of a greater unfolding. It is God pulling you aside, away from distractions, away from noise, so that you may hear His voice clearly. In these moments, when you are pulled away from the crowd, it is when God is closest to you. He has chosen to bring you into a quiet space, a sacred space, where He can reveal the depths of His divine plan. God isolates the chosen because He must. You are not meant to fit into the ordinary, for you were created to do extraordinary things. To accomplish this, you must first be separated, removed from the patterns of the world, so that you can become a vessel for higher truths, for deeper wisdom. Just as the seed must first be buried in the dark soil before it can sprout into the light, so too must you go through a period of isolation before your purpose can fully bloom. Do not mistake this period as a time of abandonment. It is, in fact, a time of preparation. God is preparing your heart, your mind, and your spirit for the work that lies ahead. During isolation, you may feel uncomfortable, even restless. But this discomfort is part of the transformation. You are being refined, just as gold is refined in the fire. The fire burns away impurities, leaving behind only that which is pure, that which is valuable. In the same way, God's isolation burns away the things that no longer serve you, the doubts, the fears, the attachments to the old ways of being. You are being purified, prepared for the next chapter of your journey. And though it may be painful at times, it is necessary. You are being transformed into someone who can handle the weight of the divine purpose that has been placed upon your life. God isolates you because He needs you to listen, to be still, and to receive. In the stillness, you will begin to understand that everything is unfolding according to divine timing. You cannot rush this process. Just as a flower blooms in its own season, so too will your purpose unfold at the right time. Trust that this isolation is not a delay but a necessary pause. God is aligning everything in your favor, but first you must be aligned with Him. This is why He pulls you away from the noise, from the distractions, so that you may attune yourself to His frequency, to His voice. Often we associate isolation with loneliness, but chosen ones, there is a vast difference between being alone and being lonely. When God isolates you, He is not leaving you alone. On the contrary, He is inviting you into deeper communion with Him. He is drawing you closer so that you may lean on Him, depend on Him, and trust Him more fully. You are never truly alone when you are with God. His presence surrounds you, even when you cannot see it. His hand is guiding you, even when you do not feel it. In this sacred solitude, you are being invited into a higher level of intimacy with the divine. It is in this place of isolation where revelations occur, where the veil is lifted, and you begin to see life through the eyes of the Spirit. As chosen ones, you must stop worrying about the isolation. Worry is a sign of mistrust. It is the mind clinging to fear, imagining worst-case scenarios. But God does not work through fear. He works through faith. The path of the chosen one is one of faith, not of sight. You may not always see what is ahead, but you must trust that God is leading you exactly where you need to be. Do not let worry cloud your vision or rob you of your peace. Instead, allow this time of isolation to deepen your trust in God. Trust that He knows what He is doing, that He sees the bigger picture, and that He is orchestrating everything for your highest good. The world may not understand your journey. People may question why you seem to withdraw, why you are no longer participating in the things you once did. But remember, the path of the chosen one is not for everyone to understand. You are being called to walk a different path, one that requires you to detach from the things of the world so that you can focus on the things of the Spirit. This detachment is not a loss, but a gain. You are gaining a deeper connection with God, a clearer understanding of your purpose, and a greater sense of peace. Do not disappear in this isolation. It is tempting when we feel isolated to want to withdraw completely, to shut ourselves off from the world. But this is not what God intends. He does not isolate you so that you will vanish into the background. He isolates you so that you can emerge stronger, more focused, more aligned with your purpose. Use this time wisely. Seek God in the quiet moments. Pray, meditate, and listen. The answers you seek are already within you, waiting to be uncovered. But you must be still enough to hear them. Chosen ones, God isolates you because He has set you apart. You are not meant to follow the crowd, to do what everyone else is doing. Your calling is higher, your purpose is greater, and to fulfill this, you must first be removed from the noise of the world. God is not interested in who you were before. He is interested in who you are becoming. This is a time of becoming more of who you were created to be, becoming more aligned with the divine will, becoming a vessel for God's light to shine through. Do not fight this isolation. Embrace it. See it for what it truly is, a gift of time, a gift of clarity, a gift of preparation. God is doing a work in you, and though you may not see the full picture yet, trust that when the time is right, everything will make sense. You will look back on this period and understand why it was necessary. You will see how the isolation prepared you, how it strengthened you, and how it brought you closer to the fulfillment of your purpose. You may feel misunderstood during this time. You may feel as though no one can relate to what you are going through. But remember, you are not walking this path alone. Many chosen ones before you have walked the same path. They too experienced isolation, but they emerged on the other side stronger, wiser, and more in tune with their purpose. You are part of a divine lineage, a lineage of those who have been set apart for a higher calling. And though the world may not understand, God understands. He sees you, He knows you, and He is with you every step of the way. So stop worrying. Let go of the fear, the doubt, and the need for approval from others. This is between you and God. Your journey is sacred, and it is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust the process. Trust the isolation. Trust that God is doing a work in you that will not only transform your life, but will also impact the lives of others. You were chosen for a reason, and that reason will become clear in time. In this period of isolation, focus on your inner growth. Focus on cultivating a deeper relationship with God. This is a time of preparation, and what you do during this time will determine how you step into the next phase of your journey. Do not waste this time worrying or doubting. Instead, use it to strengthen your faith, to sharpen your vision, and to align yourself with the divine purpose that is unfolding in your life. Chosen ones, God isolates you because He is preparing you for something greater, something that requires you to be fully present, fully aware, and fully aligned with His will. Do not disappear in this isolation. Instead, allow it to transform you, to elevate you, and to bring you closer to the fulfillment of your divine destiny. This is your time, your season of growth, and your moment to shine. Trust the process, trust the isolation, and trust that God is with you every step of the way. As you move through this period of isolation, it's essential to remember that God is always working on your behalf, even when it seems as though nothing is happening. The silence that you may experience during this time is not a void, but rather a space where God is cultivating growth within you. This isolation allows you to break free from distractions and truly align with the divine will. And it's here that you begin to tap into the power that lies within you. The power that has always been there, but is now being fully awakened. You see, chosen ones, God isolates you because He knows that the path you are on requires focus, discipline, and a level of awareness that can only be achieved through solitude. It's easy to get caught up in the noise of the world, in the opinions and judgments of others, but God knows that in order for you to step into your true calling, you must first step away from those distractions. The world will always try to pull you in different directions, but in isolation you learn to stand firm, to trust your inner guidance, and to rely on the voice of God above all else. This period of separation is also a time for you to deepen your connection with yourself. So often we are conditioned to seek validation and approval from external sources. But when you are isolated, those external sources fade away, and you are left with yourself. This is where true transformation begins. In the quiet, you come face to face with your fears, your insecurities, and your doubts. But you also come face to face with your strength, your resilience, and your faith. It is in this space that you begin to understand that everything you need is already within you. God isolates you because He wants you to understand the power of being alone with Him. There is a sacredness in solitude, a sacredness that allows you to commune with God in ways that are not possible when you are surrounded by the noise of the world. In isolation, you are given the opportunity to listen, to truly hear the whispers of the divine, and to receive the guidance that will carry you through the next phase of your journey. This is a time of divine downloads where revelations are given, insights are unveiled, and your spiritual awareness is heightened. As chosen ones, you must stop worrying about the opinions of others. People may not understand why you are being pulled away, why you seem to be walking a different path, but that is not for them to understand. Your journey is unique, and it is not meant to be validated by others. God is the one who validates you, who calls you, and who ordains your steps. Trust that His approval is all that you need. The opinions of others will fade, but God's plan for your life is eternal. During this time of isolation, you will also begin to recognize that the things you once thought were important no longer hold the same weight. Material possessions, status, and recognition from others lose their significance as you become more attuned to the things of the Spirit. You begin to see that true fulfillment comes from within, from your relationship with God, and from living in alignment with your divine purpose. The things of this world are temporary, but the things of the Spirit are eternal. This is why God isolates you, so that you can detach from the temporary and focus on the eternal. Isolation also gives you the space to heal. Many of you have carried wounds from the past, hurts that have not yet been addressed. In the busyness of life, it's easy to push those wounds aside, to bury them beneath the surface, but in isolation there is nowhere to hide. God brings those wounds to the surface not to harm you, but to heal you. He wants you to be whole, to be free from the baggage of the past, so that you can move forward into your destiny unencumbered. This is a time of deep healing, a time to release what no longer serves you, and to allow God to mend the broken pieces of your heart. You may feel like you are losing people during this time, and in many ways you are. But understand that not everyone is meant to go where you are going. God is removing certain people from your life because their season in your journey has come to an end. This is not a loss, but a divine pruning. Just as a gardener prunes a tree to encourage new growth, God is pruning your life so that you can grow into the fullness of who you were created to be. Trust that those who are meant to stay will stay, and those who are meant to leave will leave. This is all part of God's plan. Chosen ones, you are being called to a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of spiritual awareness. This isolation is not just about removing you from the world, it's about elevating you above the limitations of the world. You are being called to see beyond the physical, to tap into the unseen, and to live from a place of divine knowing. This is where miracles happen, where manifestations occur, and where you begin to walk in the fullness of your power. But in order to access this level of consciousness, you must first be isolated. You must be still, be silent, and be willing to let go of the old so that you can step into the new. It's important to understand that isolation is not a permanent state. It is a season, a necessary phase in your journey, but it will not last forever. There will come a time when God will call you out of isolation, and you will step into the world with a new sense of purpose, a new sense of clarity, and a new sense of power. But you must be patient during this season. You must allow God to do the work He is doing in you. Rushing the process will only hinder your growth. Trust that God's timing is perfect and that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. In this period of isolation, you are being given the opportunity to strengthen your faith. Faith is not just a belief in God, it is a deep, unwavering trust that God is working everything out for your good, even when you cannot see it. This is the essence of faith, to walk by faith, not by sight. To trust in the unseen, in the promises of God, even when your circumstances tell you otherwise. Isolation strengthens this faith because it forces you to rely solely on God. There is no one else to lean on, no one else to turn to, and in this space, you learn that God is enough. He is your provider, your protector, your guide, and your source of strength. You are being prepared for something greater. God is isolating you because He is preparing you for a role, a mission, a purpose that requires you to be fully aligned with Him. This preparation is not always easy, but it is necessary. You are being equipped with the tools, the knowledge, and the wisdom that you will need to fulfill your divine assignment. Do not despise this time of preparation. Embrace it, knowing that God is shaping you into the person you need to be in order to carry out His plan for your life. Chosen ones, you are being transformed. The isolation is not just about removing you from the world, it is about transforming you from the inside out. God is renewing your mind, refining your spirit, and aligning your heart with His will. This transformation is a process, and it takes time, but when you emerge from this season, you will be a new creation, equipped and empowered to walk in your purpose with confidence and clarity. Do not disappear in this isolation. Do not retreat into the shadows or allow fear to consume you. This is your time to rise, to stand firm in your faith, and to trust that God is leading you exactly where you need to be. The isolation may be uncomfortable, but it is in the discomfort that growth occurs. It is in the silence that revelations are given. It is in the solitude that you are drawn closer to God. Chosen ones, you are being set apart for a reason. God is isolating you because He is preparing you for something greater. Trust the process. Trust the isolation. Trust that God is with you every step of the way. In this sacred period of isolation, you are being called to dive deeper into the mysteries of life and your relationship with the divine. It may feel as though everything familiar is being stripped away, that you are left in the wilderness with nothing but your own thoughts and the presence of God. But understand this, the wilderness is where the most profound transformations occur. It is where you discover who you truly are without the influence of the world telling you who to be. It is where the illusions fall away and the truth of your being emerges. You are being given the gift of seeing yourself clearly through God's eyes, without the distortions of societal expectations and the judgments of others. As chosen ones, you have been set apart for a divine purpose, and that purpose cannot be fulfilled while you are entangled in the distractions of everyday life. There are times when God needs to pull you away from the noise, from the chaos, so that you can hear His voice more clearly. This is why isolation is necessary. It is in the stillness that you begin to hear the whispers of God's guidance, the nudges of the Spirit leading you toward your destiny. In this space, you are being recalibrated, refocused, and recentered on the things that truly matter. The isolation may feel uncomfortable at times, even painful, but remember that growth rarely happens in comfort. Just as a seed must be buried in darkness before it can sprout into the light, you too must go through this season of isolation to emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your divine purpose. The discomfort you feel is not meant to harm you, it is meant to stretch you, to expand your capacity for faith, for love, and for understanding. You are being prepared for a greater calling, and that preparation requires moments of solitude, moments where you are forced to rely on nothing but God and your inner strength. This process is not about punishment, it is about preparation. God isolates you because He sees what you cannot yet see. He knows the path that lies ahead, and He knows what you will need in order to navigate it successfully. This period of isolation is where He equips you with the tools, the wisdom, and the resilience that you will need to fulfill your destiny. It is where He sharpens your vision, strengthens your resolve, and deepens your connection to Him. Trust that this isolation is not a delay or a setback, it is a necessary step in the unfolding of your divine purpose. In isolation, you are also given the opportunity to shed the old versions of yourself that no longer serve you. There are aspects of your personality, your beliefs, and your habits that may have been formed through your interactions with the world, but they are not aligned with your true self. This is the time for releasing those parts of you that have been shaped by fear, by insecurity, and by the need for external validation. God is inviting you to step into your authentic self, the self that is free from the limitations of the past, the self that is fully aligned with His will. You may feel as though you are being separated from people, from opportunities, and from the life you once knew. But understand that this separation is divine. God is removing the distractions, the relationships, and the circumstances that no longer serve your highest good. He is clearing the path so that you can walk forward with clarity and purpose. The people who are meant to be in your life will remain, and those who are not will fall away. This is not a loss, but a divine realignment. Trust that everything and everyone that is leaving your life during this time is making space for what is truly meant for you. As chosen ones, you are called to live a life that is different from the world. You are called to operate from a higher level of consciousness, a level where you are guided by faith rather than fear, by love rather than judgment. This is why God isolates you, so that you can develop the spiritual maturity needed to walk this path. The world will try to pull you back into its ways, but in isolation you learn to stand firm in your faith, to trust in the unseen, and to live from a place of divine knowing. You begin to understand that your power does not come from external circumstances or the approval of others, it comes from within, from your connection to the divine. In this time of isolation, you are also being called to cultivate patience. The journey of a chosen one is not a sprint, it is a marathon. There will be times when it feels as though nothing is happening, when the promises of God seem distant, but it is in those moments that your faith is being strengthened. Patience is not about waiting idly, it is about trusting in the process, trusting that God's timing is perfect, even when it does not align with your own. In isolation, you are being taught the art of surrender, the ability to let go of your need for control, and to trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. This isolation is also a time for reflection. You are being given the space to look inward, to examine your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions. It is a time to assess whether you are living in alignment with your true self, or if you have been swayed by the expectations of the world. God is giving you the opportunity to course correct, to make adjustments, and to realign yourself with His will. This is a time for deep introspection, for asking the hard questions, and for seeking the answers that come from within. You may feel as though you are in a period of waiting, but understand that waiting is not wasted time. God is using this time to prepare you, to mold you, and to shape you into the person you need to be in order to fulfill your divine assignment. This waiting is a time of growth, a time of strengthening, and a time of deepening your faith. Trust that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events, and aligning circumstances in your favor. Just because you cannot see it does not mean that it is not happening. During this isolation, you will also begin to understand the importance of detachment. As chosen ones, you are being called to live in the world, but not be of the world. This means that you must learn to detach from the material, from the external, and from the things that do not contribute to your spiritual growth. Isolation teaches you the power of detachment. It shows you that your worth is not tied to your possessions, your status, or your relationships. Your worth comes from your connection to God, and that is something that can never be taken away. You may feel alone during this time, but understand that you are never truly alone. God is with you every step of the way, guiding you, supporting you, and protecting you. This isolation is not meant to make you feel abandoned. It is meant to draw you closer to God. In this space, you are being invited to lean on Him in ways that you never have before. You are being called to deepen your trust, to strengthen your faith, and to rely on Him as your source of strength. This is a time of divine revelation. In isolation, you are being given the opportunity to receive insights, wisdom, and guidance that will propel you forward on your journey. This is a time when God speaks to you more clearly, when the noise of the world is silenced, and you are able to hear His voice more distinctly. Pay attention to the signs, the dreams, and the messages that come to you during this time. They are not coincidences, they are divine communications meant to guide you on your path. You are being called to rise above the limitations of the world and to step into your divine power. This isolation is preparing you for something greater, something that requires you to be fully aligned with your purpose and with God's will. Trust the process, trust the isolation, and trust that everything is working together for your good. This is your time to be still, to listen, and to allow God to do His work in you. As chosen ones, you are being set apart for a reason. This isolation is not a punishment, it is a preparation. God is shaping you, molding you, and preparing you for a divine assignment that requires you to be fully aligned with Him. Do not resist this process. Embrace it, knowing that it is leading you toward your destiny. Trust that God is with you, guiding you, and supporting you every step of the way. You are being prepared for something greater, something divine, and this isolation is a necessary part of that preparation. Trust the process, trust God, and trust yourself. In this space of isolation, it is important to realize that what may seem like loneliness is actually divine protection. You are not isolated because you are forgotten, you are isolated because you are chosen. There are battles that God is shielding you from, relationships that He is pulling you away from, and situations that He is redirecting you out of. You may not fully understand it now, but there is a reason for every closed door, every unanswered prayer, and every moment of solitude. In these moments, God is protecting you from things that would hinder your growth, your progress, and your alignment with His will. This isolation is a form of divine protection, a shelter from the storm, and a safe haven where you can recalibrate and prepare for the next chapter of your life. God isolates you because He knows the weight of the assignment on your life. As a chosen one, your path is not like that of others. There is a higher calling on your life, and with that calling comes a greater responsibility. God is not interested in quick fixes or temporary success. He is interested in the long game, in the fulfillment of your purpose over the course of your life. This is why He takes the time to isolate you, to prepare you, and to equip you for the journey ahead. He knows the battles you will face, the challenges you will encounter, and the obstacles that will come your way. In this time of isolation, He is strengthening you, refining you, and preparing you for the battles that lie ahead. You may feel as though you are missing out on life, that while others are moving forward, you are standing still. But understand this: God's timing is perfect. While it may seem like nothing is happening, everything is unfolding exactly as it should. There is a divine timing for everything. And just because it is not happening in your time does not mean it is not happening. God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events, aligning circumstances, and preparing the way for you. This isolation is not a delay, it is a preparation. It is a time for you to build your spiritual muscles, to deepen your faith, and to develop the resilience that will carry you through the challenges ahead. In this period of isolation, you are also being called to release control. As chosen ones, we often feel the need to be in control, to have everything figured out, and to know exactly what is going to happen next. But God is calling you to surrender that need for control and to trust in His plan. This isolation is a time for you to let go of your expectations, your timelines, and your need for certainty. It is a time for you to lean into faith, to trust that God's plan is greater than anything you could imagine, and to believe that He is working all things together for your good. This is a time for surrender, for letting go of the need to have all the answers, and for trusting that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. The isolation you are experiencing is also an invitation to deepen your relationship with God. In the busyness of life, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters. We get caught up in the demands of the world, in the pursuit of success, and in the approval of others. But in isolation, God is calling you back to Him. He is inviting you to spend time in His presence, to seek His guidance, and to deepen your connection with Him. This is a time for prayer, for meditation, and for listening to the still, small voice of God. In this space, you will find the peace, the clarity, and the direction that you need to move forward. As chosen ones, we are not called to walk the same path as everyone else. We are called to a higher standard, to a deeper level of faith, and to a greater level of responsibility. This is why God isolates us, because He knows that we cannot fulfill our purpose if we are distracted by the things of the world. He knows that in order to walk in our calling, we must be set apart, we must be focused, and we must be fully aligned with His will. This isolation is a time for you to refocus, to realign, and to recommit to the path that God has set before you. You may feel as though you are being stripped of everything familiar, that the life you once knew is falling away. But understand that this stripping away is necessary for your growth. God is removing the things that no longer serve you, the relationships that are holding you back, and the circumstances that are not aligned with your purpose. He is clearing the way for something greater, something that is in alignment with His plan for your life. This is not a time of loss, it is a time of preparation. God is making space for the new, for the things that are truly meant for you, and for the opportunities that are in alignment with your highest good. In isolation, you are also being called to cultivate inner strength. The path of the chosen ones is not an easy one. There will be challenges, there will be obstacles, and there will be moments of doubt. But in this time of isolation, God is teaching you to rely on your inner strength, to trust in your own resilience, and to believe in your ability to overcome anything that comes your way. This is a time for you to build your spiritual muscles, to strengthen your faith, and to develop the fortitude that will carry you through the storms of life. In this space, you are learning that your strength does not come from external circumstances or from the approval of others. It comes from within, from your connection to God. This period of isolation is also a time for you to redefine your priorities. In the busyness of life, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters. We get caught up in the pursuit of success, in the desire for recognition, and in the need for external validation. But in isolation, God is calling you to reassess your priorities, to realign your focus, and to remember what truly matters. This is a time for you to let go of the things that are not serving your highest good, to release the need for external approval, and to focus on the things that are in alignment with your purpose. This is a time for you to refocus on your relationship with God, on your spiritual growth, and on the things that truly matter in the grand scheme of your life. In isolation, you are also being given the opportunity to heal. There may be wounds from the past, unresolved pain, or unhealed trauma that you have been carrying with you. In the busyness of life, it is easy to push these things aside, to avoid dealing with them, and to distract yourself with external pursuits. But in isolation, God is giving you the space to heal, to release the past, and to step into a new chapter of your life. This is a time for deep healing, for letting go of the things that have been holding you back, and for stepping into the fullness of who you are meant to be. You may feel as though you are in a period of waiting, but understand that this waiting is not wasted time. God is using this time to prepare you, to equip you, and to mold you into the person you need to be in order to fulfill your purpose. This waiting is a time of growth, a time of strengthening, and a time of deepening your faith. Trust that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events, and aligning circumstances in your favor. Just because you cannot see it does not mean that it is not happening. Trust that God's timing is perfect, and that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. In this time of isolation, you are being given the opportunity to reconnect with your true self. In the busyness of life, it is easy to lose sight of who you truly are, to get caught up in the expectations of the world, and to forget your divine nature. But in isolation, God is inviting you to rediscover your true self, to reconnect with your soul, and to remember the truth of who you are. This is a time for self-reflection, for introspection, and for deepening your understanding of yourself. You are being given the space to rediscover your passions, your purpose, and your divine calling. This isolation is not a punishment, it is a gift. It is a time for you to grow, to heal, and to transform. It is a time for you to deepen your relationship with God, to strengthen your faith, and to align yourself with your divine purpose. This is a time of preparation, a time of recalibration, and a time of spiritual growth. Trust that everything is happening for a reason, and that this isolation is a necessary step in your journey as a chosen one. Trust the process, trust God, and trust that you are being guided toward your highest good. As you continue to walk through this season of isolation, it is crucial to understand that the silence around you is not a void, it's a divine conversation happening between you and God. In these quiet moments, you may feel like your prayers aren't being answered, or that your cries for help are falling on deaf ears. But know this: God is always listening, and more importantly, He is responding in ways that you might not yet comprehend. What seems like a pause in your life is, in fact, a moment of profound spiritual growth. In the isolation, you are being given the opportunity to hear God in a way that is not possible when you are surrounded by the noise and distractions of the world. The stillness is not a punishment or a sign of abandonment, it is a chance for you to cultivate a deeper awareness of God's presence. In the silence, your soul begins to resonate with the truth that God is always near, always working in your favor. You may not see it, you may not feel it, but His presence is constant and unwavering. It is in these moments of quiet that you can begin to hear the subtle whispers of divine guidance, the gentle nudges that lead you toward your destiny. Sometimes God speaks in a thunderous voice that shakes the foundations of your world, but more often than not, He speaks in the soft, quiet moments when you are alone with Him. This isolation is a divine classroom. It is here, in this solitude, that you are being taught some of the most important lessons of your life. The greatest teachers are often not the loudest voices, but rather the quiet spaces where you are forced to confront yourself, your fears, your doubts, and your deepest desires. In this sacred space, you are learning patience, perseverance, and trust. Patience because you are realizing that good things take time, perseverance because you are building the strength to keep going even when the path is unclear, and trust because you are learning to rely on God's plan even when it doesn't match your own. You may be wondering why the isolation is so long, why the waiting seems endless. But remember, great things take time to manifest. Just as a seed must be buried in the ground and remain hidden before it can sprout and grow, so too must you be hidden for a time. This hidden season is not a period of inactivity, it is a time of preparation. In the same way that a seed must break through its shell and root itself deeply before it can rise toward the light, you are in the process of rooting yourself in faith, in purpose, and in divine truth. The chosen ones are often hidden away for a time because their purpose is too great to be rushed. The weight of your calling requires deep preparation. You cannot rush the process of becoming who you are meant to be. Like a diamond that is formed under immense pressure over time, your purpose is being shaped and refined in this season of isolation. The pressures you feel are not meant to crush you, but to refine you, to bring out the brilliance and strength that is already within you. Trust that the time you are spending in isolation is necessary for your transformation. In this time of solitude, God is working on your heart. He is softening the rough edges, healing the wounds you may have carried for years, and preparing your spirit for the greatness that lies ahead. Sometimes we are so focused on the external circumstances of our lives, our careers, relationships, and material success that we neglect the internal work that needs to be done. But God knows that in order for you to walk in the fullness of your calling, your heart must be whole, your spirit must be strong, and your mind must be aligned with His will. This isolation is a time for inner healing, for soul deep restoration, and for spiritual alignment. The temptation to disappear during this period is strong. You may feel like giving up, retreating from your purpose, and letting go of the dreams you once held so tightly. But don't. Don't let the silence convince you that God has forgotten you. Don't let the solitude make you believe that your purpose no longer matters. This is precisely the time when you need to stand firm, to hold on to your faith, and to trust that God is still moving in your life, even when you cannot see it. Remember that God isolates His chosen ones not to diminish them, but to prepare them for something far greater than they could ever imagine. In moments when the weight of isolation feels unbearable, turn your focus inward and upward. Use this time to deepen your relationship with God, to grow in your understanding of His Word, and to cultivate a deeper faith that can carry you through any storm. The isolation is a gift, even if it doesn't feel like one right now. It is an opportunity to grow in ways that are not possible when you are surrounded by distractions. It is a time to strengthen your connection with God, to refine your purpose, and to prepare for the next chapter of your life. You may feel like you are missing out on the opportunities and experiences that others are having, but understand this: what is meant for you will not pass you by. The doors that God has destined for you to walk through will open when the time is right, and not a moment before. You are not behind, you are exactly where you need to be. The isolation is not a detour, it is part of the journey. Trust that God's timing is perfect, and that the opportunities He has for you are far greater than anything you could imagine. In this time of waiting, let go of the need to compare your journey to that of others. Your path is unique because your purpose is unique. God is not asking you to walk the same path as everyone else. He is asking you to walk the path that He has specifically designed for you. This is why the isolation is necessary, because you cannot fulfill your divine purpose if you are too focused on the world's expectations. You are being set apart for something greater, and that requires a season of separation. As difficult as it may be, learn to find peace in the isolation. Learn to trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. The isolation is not a punishment, it is a preparation. It is a time for you to become the person you need to be in order to fulfill the purpose that God has placed on your life. Trust the process even when it doesn't make sense. Trust that God's plan is greater than anything you could ever imagine. And trust that when the time is right, you will emerge from this isolation stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the blessings that are coming your way. Remember, the greatest transformations often happen in the quietest moments. Just as a caterpillar must retreat into its cocoon before it can emerge as a butterfly, so too must you retreat into this season of isolation before you can fully step into your divine purpose. This is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of a new chapter. Embrace the isolation, for it is in this sacred space that you are being transformed into the person you were always meant to be. As you continue to walk through this season of isolation, hold on to the truth that God is with you every step of the way. You are not alone, and you are not forgotten. You are being prepared for something far greater than you can imagine. Trust the process, trust God's plan, and trust that your breakthrough is closer than you think. As you move through this period of isolation, recognize it as a profound blessing in disguise. It is not meant to break you, but to build you into the person who can fully step into the purpose God has laid out for you. This time of separation is sacred, is where you reconnect with the divine, strengthen your faith, and heal the parts of you that need restoration. Trust that you are never truly alone. God is with you, guiding you every step of the way. In this space, your spiritual foundation is being fortified, your path is being clarified, and your heart is being prepared for greater things. Do not resist this process or see it as a delay. Instead, embrace it as the divine setup that it truly is. Every moment of solitude is an opportunity for growth. Every unanswered question is an invitation to deepen your trust in God's perfect timing. Let go of the urge to disappear, and instead stand firm in the knowing that God is shaping you for the extraordinary. What is ahead of you is far greater than what is behind. Believe in the power of this divine isolation and know that your breakthrough is on the horizon.